And this session is in regards to the daily news analysis, that is in regards to the today's 23rd October 2020. And we'll look at the quote of the day before we get into the daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper. The quote of the day is, "Success is the ability. It is an ability to go from failure to another, but without any loss of enthusiasm." So what is very much required is, during the course of your preparation, when you have a short term or a long term goal in regards to your success, enthusiasm is very important. You should never lose your enthusiasm even if you are encountering failure. Certainly failures are to be in the path of our success, but what is the ability to is to overcome from one failure to another failure without any loss of enthusiasm. And before I get into the topic, that is the daily news analysis, I would say a very good morning to one and all who are in the live and also in the live chat. Very good morning to Kaja Fakhruddin and also D Suvarna. A warm welcome to both of you to AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And now we will look at the news which is in today's the Hindu newspaper. The newspaper talks about the government of India has relaxed the visa restrictions. So we will look at what are the relaxations which the government of India has gone ahead with the restrictions in regards to the visa on the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, that is trying to make sure that the virus do not spread across the countries. And in regards to that, the government of India has taken a step to restrict the visas, and now because after almost 6 months, now the government is in a position to relax the visas restrictions, and the Ministry of Home Affairs has gone ahead with relaxing of the visa restrictions for the foreigners to come to India, that is the one who would wish to come to India for various purposes, and the foreigners who would wish to come to India for various purposes, their visas have been relaxed, restrictions have been relaxed, and the one who would get into India, that is the foreigners who would come to India, could be business point of view or any conferences or in regards to the employment, education and research and any medical reasons. So there could be any kind of these reasons, and because of these reasons, if the foreigners are getting into India or would wish to come to India because of these purposes, now the Ministry of Home Affairs have relaxed the visa restrictions, and the government now also decided to go ahead with a graded relaxation for the visas and the travel restrictions. It is not only in regards to visa but also in regards to the travel. So the government of India, that is the Ministry of Home Affairs, has gone ahead with a graded relaxation in regards to the visas and also in regards to the travel restrictions for the foreigners or the foreign nationals, and also the Indian nationals who would wish to enter into India or leave India. That is, foreigners who would wish to enter in India, could be because of the visa or the travel, or the Indians who would wish to leave India and then get into another countries because of various purposes. It could be business, conference, employment, education, research and medical reasons. The way the foreigners tries to get into India for various purposes, even Indians would wish to go into other countries or to any other foreign country because of the purposes. And now it is a graded relaxations which have been taken up by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Home Affairs has also decided to permit the OCI, that is Overseas Citizens of India, and also the PIO, that is Persons of Indian Origin card holders who have this OCI and PIO card holders, and all other foreign nationals to visit to India, but it would take place except on a tourist visa. They can get into India, that is the overseas citizens of India and the PIO and the foreign nationals can get into India by only a tourist visa, which could be by air or water routes, and this will be taken up through a authorized airports. The OCI or the PIOs, that is overseas citizens of India, persons of Indian origin or the foreign nationals would get into India through an authorized airports and an authorized seaport immigration checkpoints. So here the Ministry of Home Affairs has gone ahead with allowing or relaxing the visa and the travel restrictions, but the foreigners or foreign nationals should get into India only through authorized airports and through seaport immigration. So these are the two keywords: authorized airports and seaport immigration checkpost only they can get into India. And I would, before I get into the next slide, I would say Rahul, Shahid Panyam, Sindhu Sports, Shanti Swarup, Subbu, Syed, Srinu, all of you, a warm welcome to AKSIAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And when we are talking about the relaxation, which could be in regards to the authorized airports and the seaport immigration, we are talking about only through the authorized airports and the seaport immigrations. So that could be based on the flights would be operated under the Vande Bharat mission, and air transport bubble arrangements and the non-scheduled commercial flights. So the flights would be operated wherein the foreign nationals would get into India or wish to come to India for various purposes based on Vande Bharat mission, air transport bubble arrangements, and the third one is non-scheduled commercial flights. So this transport bubble is from one country or X country to Y country. They have the arrangements for the air travels to get into X country to India or India to X country. So this could be and mutual understanding and arrangements in regards to the flights which carry the foreign nationals or their nationals into India and Indian national to any other particular country, that is called as air transport bubble arrangements from one country to another country specifically. And these travel restrictions, which now the relaxation of the travel restrictions have been taken up by the government, that is the Ministry of Home Affairs, has been imposed travel restrictions on which was issued on March 23rd, 2020, wherein the first lockdown, that is COVID-19 lockdown, has been initiated in India. And on August 7th, the government of India has gone ahead with the travel from the foreign nationals, that is US, UK, Germany and France. They can get into India for various business, medical or employment purposes through these visas under air bubble scheme. So I have explained what is air bubble scheme. It is a scheme which is between India and another country, a mutual understanding wherein the flights, the nationals can travel from one country to another country. It is a country to country specific arrangements in regards to the movement of the nationals through the flights, and the visa restrictions have been gradually relaxed on August 18th by Ministry of Home Affairs. So March 23rd the total restriction, August 7th through the air bubble scheme from US, UK, Germany, France nationals can get into India, they can travel to India, and then gradual relaxation has taken place on August 18th. So here what is important is Vande Bharat mission, air transport bubble arrangement, non-scheduled commercial flights, the foreign nationals can get into India, and the other one is through the authorized airports and then seaport immigration. Gauri Naidu has also joined, Sri Kumar has joined. A warm welcome to both of you to AKSIAS Academy. And there is another news which talks about US to nix business visas, for H1B specialty jobs. So there are visas for few specific or specialty jobs in US wherein Indians can acquire that H1B visa, that is a business visa, and then can go to US and then work there. Or further, US employers can send few of their professionals to various other countries to go ahead with having their business or technical professionals for a short period of time, and now the US has nixed, that is, it has stopped. It has stopped. So when we are talking about the US State Department, nix, yes, I did, Rahul, nix is stop, to stop, that is what. It is not mix, it is not a spelling mistake, not rather than N, it is not M, it is N only, N-I-X. Nix is stop. The US State Department has stopped visas for H-1B specialty jobs. I think Rahul, now you understood the meaning of nix. The US Department has now proposed not to issue, that is to stop, a temporary business visas for H-1B specialty occupation. That means the one who attain the H-1B visas are the one, they are professional, technical professional who have technical knowledge. Those people who have been eyed, that is, it could be any foreigner who would wish to get into US and then work for US company. So they would be issued the H-1B visas, and this H-1B visas, that is a business visa, specialty occupation, which are used by various companies in the US to send their technical professionals for a short stay to complete the job on site. So there could be Indian company in India, wherein they would wish to send their employer or technical professionals to US, which they have their company, Indian company in US. So here they are the specialty occupations or technical professionals who have been sent from X country. Here we have taken an example from Indian company which is located in India. That employer or the technical professional is sent to US, to the Indian company in US, to have the short stay to complete the job there on site in US. I hope you understood. And that now the US State Department has taken a decision not to issue the temporary visas. Please do understand now. This is very crucial because there are various types of visas. There are various types of visas which have taken up in my previous classes at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis itself. Types of visas. So one of the visa which the US State Department has proposed, here it is proposed not to issue is H-1B specialty occupation, which is for technical professionals. And Adam has also joined. A warm welcome to Adam. And this proposal, if it is finalized, it will eliminate many misconceptions. That is, earlier there is a conception that if anyone is getting B1 visa in lieu, what do you mean by in lieu? In lieu means instead of H policy. Please do understand here. Do not get confused because you have H1B visa. Here we are talking about if anyone is getting B1 visa instead of H policy, which is the business on the technical professionals, business on business visa in regards to the technical or specialty occupation. So there was a misconception earlier. Please do understand here. Earlier there was a misconception that if anyone is getting the B1 visa instead of H policy, wherein this B1 visa, it provides B1 visa, it provides an alternative avenue for foreign professionals to enter into US. So earlier it was by B1 visas, it could be any country, nationals, or you can take XYZ country. They would get into US by attaining the B1 visas. Please do understand. As a foreign professional entering into US by B1 visa. Please do understand. So earlier people, the technical professionals, they had a conception that the B1 visa can be used instead of H policy to enter into US as a foreign professionals to perform skilled labor, and wherein it allows and encourages the employers, the company in US, to neglect or to overcome some restrictions which are placed in the H non-immigrant classification. So to overcome some rules and regulation in the H non-immigrant classification or the rules, so they use the B1 visa to enter into US. But now H1B visa, which has this foreign professionals, allowing them or encouraging them to enter into US, is now stopped, and this is being protected by the US workers. And the US State Department now says that because of this not issuing of the US or the US State Departments of H1B specialty visas or the business visa, it will affect 6,000 to 8,000 foreign workers per year, and this will also, or it could affect hundreds of Indians who would wish to get into US through H1B visas. And now why it is this taken up? Because there was an issue which has been taken up in the year 2019, December 17, 2019. There was a settlement, or the Attorney General of California has announced 8 lakh US dollars settlement against the Infosys Limited, because the Infosys Limited has gone ahead with 500 Infosys employees to work in the California state by B1 visas, by Infosys sponsored B1 visas rather than H1B visas. Now you understood why they were taking up the B1 visas to enter into US as a technical professionals to work in the Indian company or US company in US. So then in the year 2019, the Infosys company or Infosys Limited have used, or it has gone ahead with sponsoring B1 visas for 500 Infosys employees rather than H1B visa. So here we have looked at B1 and H policy. So this is in regards to the professionals. So thereby the Attorney General of California has asked to resolve 500, or it wanted to pay the Infosys Limited 8 lakh US dollars. And now because of these changes which the US State Department has taken up, it is resulting in transparency. And it will reduce the impact of foreign laborers in the US workforce. And what is all this? All this is because of the November presidential elections. Just before the presidential elections, the government or the US has gone ahead with having the restrictions on the H1B visa, on not to allow or to stop the H1B visas, taking into consideration of the previous experience by the Infosys Limited, which has sponsored B1 visas to enter the 500 Infosys employees into US rather than sponsoring or issuing H1B visa by the Infosys Limited. So there was an issue, and that issue is now raised, and they say that this will result in transparency and it will reduce the impact of foreign laborers. So this is what is in regards to the US NICS business visas. And the another news is Dr. Reddy's shuts units. So Dr. Reddy's have announced that they have shut their units. Why? Because of this cyber attack. So they feel that there is an attack on the data, cyber attack. That is why they have closed the units for some period of time. But the chief information officer of Dr. Reddy Laboratories has said that all the services will be up within 24 hours, that is in a day or so. They are trying to make sure that they will overcome this cyber attack and then go ahead with having the operation started, so that there will not be much of impact on the operations of the Indian leading pharmaceutical company, that is Dr. Reddy's Laboratory. Why are we supposed to look at it? The news that Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, if data is been attacked cyberly, because this is at the wake of the cyber attack, and this attack has come just days after the pharmaceutical company, that is India's leading pharmaceutical company, Dr. Reddy's, have received the approval to conduct the phase 2 and phase 3 human trials for Sputnik 5 vaccine, which is been developed by Russia. And this proposal or else approval has been received by Dr. Reddy's, by the DCGI, that is Drug Controller General of India, has approved the conducting of second and third phase human trials for Sputnik 5 vaccine, which is developed by Russia in India by Dr. Reddy's. And that is what is crucial now. Why it is so important is because the information or the data might be having a cyber attack. That is why they have gone ahead with making a point that they shut the entire units so that the data is safe. Why? Because Dr. Reddy's Laboratories is in coordination of conducting the phase 2 and phase 3 human trials of or for Sputnik 5 vaccine, which is developed by Russia in India. That is what is important. So here the keyword is Sputnik 5 vaccine, which is developed by Russia, and then Drug Controller General of India approves any pharmaceutical companies or laboratories to go ahead with the human clinical trials. So these are all the keywords. And the one who is actually going ahead from Russia is, in regards to piloting the COVID-19 vaccine, that is Sputnik 5, is Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, RDIF. So RDIF is the Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. What is RDIF? It is Russian Direct Investment Fund. The drug maker, that is the Sputnik 5 COVID-19 vaccine, drug maker of Russia is RDIF, that is Russian Direct Investment Fund. This is a keyword which you need to focus for prelims perspective of UPSC. And this has announced that DCGI, that is Director Controller General of India, has approved the multicentric and randomized control study of Sputnik 5, which has given the approval of the safety and the immunogenicity of the study, that is the multicentric and randomized control study of Sputnik 5 vaccine, which will be conducting by the Dr. Reddy's Laboratories in regards to the phase 2 and phase 3 trials, taking into consideration the safety and the immunogenicity study of Sputnik 5 COVID-19 vaccine of Russia. That is the drug maker of Russia or Sputnik 5 is Russian Direct Investment Fund. It is a Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund is Russian Direct Investment Fund, and this will supply 100 million doses for Dr. Reddy Laboratories to make sure that it goes ahead with the phase 2 and phase 3 trials in India. So here the keywords we are focused. So do understand the importance of the keywords here. And Shanmukha Sai has also joined. Malali Ramesh have also joined. A warm welcome to both of you to AKSIS Academy. And the another news which we would look at is the Army Chief has commissioned INS Kavarati at Visakhapatnam. So what is this INS, Indian Navy ship INS Kavarati? It is last of the four, or else it is one of the four indigenously, that is India has built the anti-submarine warfare, ASW. So we have four anti-submarine warfare which are indigenously built by Indian companies, and that is of the anti-submarine warfare is of stealth corvettes. Stealth means secrecy, corvettes means sharp, small warships. So it is a secret warship or small warship which is anti-submarine warfare, that is called as INS Kavaratti, which is again very useful information for prelims perspective of UPSC, and this is built under Project 28 Komorota class built by whom? Built by Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, GRSC, which is based in Kolkata, has gone ahead with building the INS Kavaratti, which is anti-submarine warfare by Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers. And this INS Kavaratti has been formally inducted into the Navy at the Naval Dockyard, that is in the Eastern Naval Command, that is in Visakhapatnam. So in Visakhapatnam, which is the Eastern Naval Command, it has been formally inducted into the Navy, that is INS Kavaratti, which is anti-submarine warfare. It is a stealth corvette. Stealth is secrecy, corvettes means warship. And this has been commissioned by the Chief of Army Staff Naravane, Vice Admiral and Commanding in Chief of Eastern Naval Command. They have all been present while this has been commissioned. Shirish Kumar has joined, Ravi Babu has also joined, and a warm welcome to both of you to AKS IAS Academy. And when we are looking in regards to the commissioning or inducting of INS Kavaratti, the anti-submarine warfare in the Eastern Naval Dockyard, that is in Visakhapatnam, this ship is named after the this ship named after the capital. It is the INS Kavaratti is named. Kavaratti is what? This is the island. Kavaratti. It is the capital of Lakshadweep Islands. It is the capital city or capital of Lakshadweep group of islands, and this ship is made of high grade DMR 249A steel which is produced in India. That is why it is indigenously built anti-submarine warfare. This is very important. The high grade steel, it could be possible to be asked in the prelims. Which is the steel used in the INS Kavaratti of anti-submarine warfare? It is high grade DMR 249A, and it is named after the island in Lakshadweep, which is the capital of all the Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea. It is called as Kavaratti, and this ship is of 109 meters, 14 meters, and it has the capacity of 3,300 tons, and we looked at it is an anti-submarine warfare. And this warfare, that is anti-submarine warfare, INS Kavaratti, is a game changer in the eastern seaboard. Why? Because definitely we will have more of influence in trying to put a check on the Chinese submarines which are roaming or which are having their presence in the Indian Ocean, Indian Ocean. So this news we can look it in regards to the defense point of view, and then again in regards to the international relations, which we are trying to counter China, and then also in regards to the geography map based questions. Why? Because Kavaratti is an island. Because we need to understand what is that importance of the islands in Andaman Nicobar Islands as well as in the Lakshadweep Islands, so that there can be a question framed and you should not miss that question or answering the question appropriately. And then recently we have seen this Bangaram Island also, which was in the news, and this is also in the news many a times, Minicoy Island, and this Kalpeni Island. You have this triangle from wherein you have Cochin and then Kavaratti and Minicoy. You have these islands which are very important, which you need to focus from geography map based point of view. This is current affairs, no doubt, but again we need to focus from geography map based. That is how you need to keep on linking from one concept to another concept, so that you will not miss any question which is framed by UPSC. And Rahul says, sir, why DRDO can't make it also? These GRSC are government bodies. Absolutely. Yes. What is GRSC? It is a Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers. So when we are talking about a submarine warfare, which is indigenously built with spoke. So you have a specialized one, which is the company called as Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, which looks into or takes into consideration of the indigenous building of the warfares or the submarine warfares. And yes, when Rahul is talking about why not DRDO is, yes, it is also into action which goes ahead with missiles and also any spare parts also the DRDO looks into, or DRDO is the one which focuses in regards to the missiles and spare part. But when it comes to the warships, then it is the Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, because that is specialized in constructing or building the warships. I think Rahul, you have understood. And then the news we would focus is CPI IW base year revised. So here the keyword is base year. What we are talking about the base year? We are talking the base year for consumer price index, which is for industrial workers. So for industrial workers, you have a consumer price index. You have CPI and also you have WPI. That is consumer price index, wholesale price index. So the consumer price index for the industrial workers has been changed, has been revised from 2001 to 2016. So this is purely a preliminary question and a conceptual understanding from UPSC perspective. So the Labour and Employment Ministry, who have revised the base year for the consumer price index for industrial workers from 2001 to 2016, and this will reflect the changing consumption pattern. This is a keyword what you need to focus for the mains point of view. So how does the revising the base year of the consumer price index for industrial workers from 2001 to 2016 will impact the consumption pattern, would be the question. So certainly it will reflect the changing consumption pattern. We will focus at how it will change the consumption or the changing consumption pattern. Consumption is how, or else the what is the capacity of consuming for the by the consumers. And which ministry is into revising the base year for the CPI for industrial workers? It is Labour and Employment Ministry. Labour and Employment Ministry. You never know which among the following ministry is responsible or was responsible for revising the base year of the consumer price index for industrial workers from 2001 to 2016. So the answer is Labour and Employment Ministry. It is not Consumer Affairs, it is not Ministry of Home Affairs, it is not Legal Meteorological Department, but it is Labor and Employment Ministry is the one which has the power to revise the base year of consumer price index for industrial workers. And now the new base year gives more weightage. This is very important for conceptual understanding, for preliminary or more descriptive point of view. So how does this new base year for the CPI for industrial workers impact or changes? Because it gives, or it is concentrating on more of weightage to spending. That is what we have looked at, changing consumption pattern. How the consumer spends money, how the consumer consumes by spending. So here the weightage is given to the spending on health, education and recreation and various other miscellaneous expenses. So definitely there is a revise, and this revise will impact on the health, spending on health, education, recreation and various other miscellaneous expenses, but it will reduce the weight of food and beverages. And when it is reducing the food and beverages, the weight is reduced from 46.2% to 39%. This is again very important for conceptual, for mains point of view. That is, you can try to add these facts. You can add these facts in your short notes for the mains examination in regards to the change of or revising the base year of the CPI for industrial workers. How does it impact? So the weightage of industrial workers for food and beverages, it is reduced to 46.2% to 39%, and the spending on housing, has increased from 15.2% to 17%. So certainly there would be more of the spending pattern or the consumption pattern which will be considered by the new or the revised base year of the CPI or the consumer price index for industrial workers, which is been changed from 2001 to 2016. Ram Kumar has joined. A warm welcome to you, Ram Kumar, to AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And this, what is now importance of CPI IW? Importance of this. So this again a better conceptual understanding, because I was talking about consumer price index for industrial workers. The base year has changed. So how does it impact, and what is that it will have its impact on the consumer consumption pattern or the spending on health, education and in regards to another or various other recreational activities. So the consumer price index for industrial workers is used for measuring inflation in the retail prices. Please do understand, it is used for measuring inflation in retail prices, and it is used to regulate the dearness allowances of the government staff and industrial workers. That is, it regulates the DA of the government staff and the industrial workers. Government staff and industrial workers. Not only that, it also revises minimum wages. It also revises minimum wages in scheduled employment. So it revises minimum wages. So these are the uses, or why it is used. That is, CPI IW is used for measuring inflation in retail prices. It regulates the dearness allowance of government staff and industrial allowances. That is what now, because of the change in base year, now the opposition and then various organizations are in a misconception, or definitely they are raising the point that their DA will be reduced. Their dearness allowance to the government staff and industrial workers can be regulated. That is why now the unions are saying that their DA will be reduced because of the revising the base year of CPI IW from 2001 to 2016, and it will also revise the minimum wages. Here it is a positive sign. Here it will regulate, but it will revise the minimum wages for scheduled employments. And this Labor Bureau is expected now with a new series for the CPI for the agricultural workers. Please do understand, here we are talking about industrial workers. Industrial, do not get confused. Industrial workers, it is changed from the base year, is changed or revised from 2001 to 2016. 2001 to 2016. But the CPI for the agricultural workers, which is now currently 1986 to 87, it might change to 2021 in the month of August next year. In the month of August next year. So what are the two key points here what you need to focus for prelims as well as mains is the CPI, Consumer Price Index for industrial workers, and the Consumer Price Index for agricultural workers. And here it is from 2001 to 2016, and now here it is 1986-87 to it will be 2021 August. So these are two which are very crucial keywords. The revised base year for the Consumer Price Index for industrial workers and for the agricultural workers. Please do understand this. This is the crucial and critical information for UPSC perspective. And we will look at the another news which is in regards to the international. Sri Lankan Parliament had passed the 20th Amendment. So why we need to focus? Because it is our neighboring country and we need to know what is that the changes or amendments being taken up to the constitution of Sri Lanka, to the Sri Lankan constitution, and Sri Lankan Parliament by 2/3 majority has passed in Sri Lankan Parliament the 20th Amendment. The 20th Amendment, and this 20th passage of the 20th Amendment in the Sri Lankan Parliament, it gives expansive powers and greater immunity to the President of Sri Lanka. Please do understand, because we would be focusing in regards to the political scenario that whether it is a presidential, the president is having more power or the parliament would have more powers. But by the 20th Amendment which has been passed in the Sri Lankan Parliament, the 20th Amendment gives expansive powers and greater immunity to the Sri Lankan President. That is what is very important. That means we are talking about the type of government in Sri Lanka by the passage of the 20th Amendment. And when we look at it, there is a keyword which talks about ceremonial role. So what do you mean by ceremonial? Ceremonial means it would be a just nominal or a formal one. So who would have a ceremonial role because of the passage of the 20th Amendment? It is the Prime Minister's role. It is the Prime Minister's role would be a ceremonial role because of the passage of the 20th Amendment in the Sri Lankan Parliament. And this 20th Amendment, now it has rolled back the earlier amendment. What is the earlier amendment? That is 19th Amendment. And this 19th Amendment was passed in the year 2015 in Sri Lanka. And when this 19th Amendment was passed in 2015 in Sri Lankan Parliament, this 19th Amendment has clipped. That means it has reduced the presidential powers in 2015 and it has strengthened the Parliament of Sri Lanka. Please do understand. 19th Amendment, we will focus at 20th and 19th Amendment. 19th Amendment which was passed in the Sri Lankan Parliament in the year 2015 was to reduce or to curtail the powers of the president or the presidential powers and to strengthen the parliament or the parliament powers or the prime minister's role to have major. But now the 20th Amendment by passage of the 28th Amendment now in 2020, it again reverses the 19th Amendments. It nullifies the 19th Amendments and it gives expansive powers and greater immunity to the executive, that is the President of Sri Lanka. So there is a fight between the Parliament, role of Parliament and the presidential powers, and now President he will have more of powers and greater immunity by the passage of the 28th Amendment in Sri Lanka. And definitely there was a two-day debate which has taken place in the Sri Lankan Parliament, and in the debate the opposition MPs and government MPs have debated for and against 28th Amendment, or by repealing or nullifying 19th Amendment and for the passage of the 28th Amendment. And the opposition MPs have said that by passage of the 28th Amendment, the country, that is Sri Lanka, is into the path of authoritarianism. The opposition MPs have said that because of the passage of the 20th Amendment, the country, that is Sri Lanka, is under the way of authoritarianism. So, wherein the president will have unbridled or expansive and greater immunity. But when we focus the debate which has been taken up by the government in support of the 20th Amendment, the government MPs have emphasized that there is a need for centralized power. Look at it. One is saying that by president having more of powers or greater immunity, expansive powers, it would lead the country to authoritarianism. But the government MPs who support the passage of the 20th Amendment, they say that the country needs centralized power. For what? For better governance. So, for better governance, there has to be a centralized power. That is what the debate was in the Sri Lankan Parliament by the government MPs, which or who have supported the passage of the 20th Amendment. So, here the crucial keywords are 20th Amendment, 19th Amendment, and path of authoritarianism or need for centralized power for better governance. So, it is very important that we need to look at what is the political situation or the parliament and the presidential form of government who is having more powers and trying to impose more powers on parliament or parliament onto the president, or else prime minister's role. Here it is prime minister's role versus president's role. So there could be a question in regards to the role of prime minister and president by the passage of 20th Amendment in Sri Lankan Constitution, and how does it impact the foreign policy or the bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka. So this is the way you need to focus while analyzing the news. And then Shalini has joined, Raja has joined. A warm welcome to both of you to AKS IAS Academy. And now we will recapitulate the DNA what we have discussed. So we have looked at this government relaxation of the visa restrictions. So we have focused in regards to the need, that is how we need to make sure that the foreign nationals can get into India, and then Indian national moving out of India. And then we have also looked at the H1B visa, which we have looked at separately, B1 visa, and then splitting it to the H policy. And then Dr. Reddy's, here we have looked at the Sputnik 5 vaccine, which is developed by Russia, and then which is going ahead with the phase 2 and phase 3 trials in India is Dr. Reddy's lab. And then we have also looked at the INS Kavaratti, which has been commissioned or inducted in the Indian Navy at the Eastern Command in Visakhapatnam, which is of stealth stealth corvette. That is a privacy warship, small warship. And then this is again in regards to the economy, we have focused the base year for the CPI, IW, and then also CPI agricultural workers, industrial workers and agricultural workers. And then Sri Lankan Parliament has passed the 20th Amendment. We have focused 20th Amendment, and also we have looked at how the 19th Amendment is now repealed with the passage of the 20th Amendment. So, in regards to the health, in regards to the visas, that is global supply chain system, cyber attack, again in regards to the internal security we have focused. This in regards to the internal security, again INS Kavaretti and geography map based questions we have focused. So economy point of view and then international relations. So all this we have discussed at length, and which will certainly be useful for you for the prelims as well as mains examination. Chandrasekhar has joined. Very good morning to you, Chandrasekhar, to AKS IAS Academy, and I hope this session was very informative, knowledgeable, both for mains 2020 as well as prelims 2021. So I would say a very big thank you and a good luck to you all. And then do like the video, share the video, and then subscribe the video, and also visit the AKS IAS Academy, and also do subscribe the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And I would see you again tomorrow at 7:30 AM for the daily news analysis, which will be certainly useful for prelims as well as mains examination. And I would reiterate my points that do maintain consistency throughout your preparation, do stick to your schedule while you are preparing, and then do take care of your physical and mental health, so that you will attain your short-term goals and long-term goals. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 7:30.